Good morning, Buff families. Welcome to the Residence Life Buff Family webinar, hosted by New Student and Family Programs and our Residence Life office. First of all, I just want to say welcome to CU Boulder from the New Student and Family Programs office. We are so glad you joined us for our September webinar, and I wanted to remind you all that this is a monthly series, so check our website for more information. And we want you to know that we are available for you and your questions. So if you haven't worked with New Student and Family Programs before, please feel free to take a picture or a screenshot of this slide. Save our cell phone number in your cell phone, call or text us, email us, and visit our website. And we really are here to be a resource for you as a new family member. An outline of our time together today. So we're going to start with this welcome from our office, New Student and Family Programs. All 5 of our professional staff are on the call. Here is a picture of us from last year. So you are joined by our director, assistant director, and our 3 program coordinators today. My name is Bree Judy Waterman, and I am a program coordinator here in the middle. And we are going to kick things off and then turn it over to our friends in Residence Life. They'll be going over RESX, what is the role of a hall director, a resident advisor, and then we are going to break out by residential area. We always like to share our resources with you anytime we host a webinar. So if this is your very first time joining New Student and Family Programs for a webinar, we wanted to let you know about our resources such as the Buff Family Newsletter, the Buff Family Resource Hub, and again that we are hosting these coffee hours and webinars monthly. And so we hope you will join us each month to learn about a new topic that's relevant to your student. So I'm actually going to show you on our website where our Buff Family Newsletter is. So you can see here that you can sign up. Sometimes we have your email address, sometimes we don't, if your student might have given an old one or had a typo. And you can also see all of the archived Fall 2020 newsletters. So be sure to check that out. And then on our Families tab, if you haven't seen, we also have our New Buff Families specific page. I know most of you who are joining us today are a new Buff family. So you can see our webinar and our coffee hour series, as well as our Buff Family Resource Hub. So this is a great starting place if you're looking for general topics and questions. I highly recommend checking this out as well. And then I did want to announce that our family weekend is going to be October 12th through the 24th. We are hosting homecoming and family weekends wherever you roam. So at this time, we can't be together in person, but we are very excited to invite you to our homecoming and family weekends wherever you roam event. You'll be able to join us for 2 weeks packed full of events for Buff families, alumni, and students. So be sure to check back on this website at the end of the month to register and learn more. And then I did just want to acknowledge that we are hearing your feedback on the Fall Welcome and Move-In survey. Thank you all so much for everyone who has replied and given us that feedback in those surveys. We greatly appreciate it, and we have been reading that and making changes. And now I'm going to turn it over to Lizzie.
Good morning. My name is Lizzie Brister. I'm the Assistant Director for New Student and Family Programs. I want to echo Bree. Thanks so much for joining us today. We love getting another chance to connect with you all. And I know it's going to be really exciting today as well to do some breakouts by where your students living. I get to know the hall directors a little bit more in those areas. We, of course, want to touch on what feels like it sometimes eclipses all other conversations, but our COVID-19 updates and questions. So if you have not checked it out, we do have a great website at www.colorado.edu/COVID-19 that contains all the information you could need on our response to the situation, what health and safety measures we're taking, campus resources, etc. So in there's also, as Bree's hovering over that, the COVID-19 Ready dashboard, which shows the number of tests we've done on campus, as well as any positive cases that we're aware of. It shows the greater Colorado State numbers at the top, and then kind of our campus mode of operation. So if you do have more questions and information that you'd like, that's a great place to start. I do know you were probably aware that your students, as well as if you're on our mailing list, you got a notification that there was an update on the 15th about our on-campus and off-campus students in the Boulder area. And it's a stay-at-home notice. So basically a 2-week, if you will, quarantine period, which I will say, if your student has been socially distancing, wearing their mask, attending class, exercising, their day-to-day life won't change much. It's truly meant to prevent large group gatherings, especially off campus. And so we would suggest you go check that out, read the email clearly. It isn't in any form an isolation order or anything like that, but it is a chance for students to distance themselves from social gatherings, but then continue with in-person classes, continue with going to pick up food as needed and other necessities, as well as work and childcare and exercise. So just to clarify a little bit there, I do want to say that today's webinar may address some of your COVID concerns, but just so we're all on the same page, the responsibility for testing, for isolation decisions, for a lot of our kind of medical services stuff isn't owned either by New Student Family Programs or by Residence Life. So we're happy to try and answer your questions today, but we may recommend, especially as questions pop up in the Q&A, if that's not exactly in our wheelhouse, we want to connect you to the right people. So we may be suggesting that you call our medical services, or that you follow up with our office individually if you have concerns about your student's particular case or any questions about testing that's related to your student specifically. We are more than happy to help connect you to the right people. But we are going to focus during this webinar on what Residence Life is doing in the context of COVID-19, but a little bit more on what they're bringing to the table in their programming, rather than kind of our medical response to COVID. But again, let us know as you have questions. Some of you had already found it. If you hover over the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A feature. And that's really great because it means that we can respond directly to you. You can also view other people's questions and the answers that come in there. But the chat feature doesn't work very well for asking questions. So I would ask you to stay away from the chat feature, because we can't, if your question gets lost, we can't follow back up with you, and things kind of just happen chronologically there. It's a little bit messy. So do use that Q&A feature, and we'll try to answer your questions as we go through. But just again, thank you so much for attending, and we're excited to hear from Residence Life.
Good morning and good afternoon, Buff families. I want to thank you all again for joining on this webinar, and I take a high honor in connecting with you all this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're located, to just discuss and share with you some of our initiatives within Residence Life as we have our students who are living with us. My name is DeAndre Taylor. I am the Interim Associate Director for Educational Initiatives. And what you're seeing on the screen there is my telephone number, my email, and a website where you can learn more about our residential experience. So just a quick information about who we are in Residence Life. So we foster communities within first-year environments, upper class, and graduate communities. We have a variety of professional staff members whom you will speak with our hall directors today, who primarily work in our first-year residence halls. But we have a variety of professional staff positions that support residents in their living environments. And we house nearly 8,500 students across our unique communities. Now there's an asterisk by that 8,500, because obviously we're not there right now, just given the state that we're in with our capacity on campus right now, given the pandemic and everything. But on any given other year, you know, we are at around that 8,500 students across our first year, upper class, and graduate communities. So I will note that within our first year residence halls, which many of your students are probably living in, We do have professional staff members who are called our hall directors, and we'll talk with those about that particular position here in a moment. But I do want to let folks know those are live-in professionals. So they actually have their own apartments within the buildings with your students. So they're there, and we have that role is designed to, one, support our students with their development within their first year, within their first years, and also to be there to support the student staff who also live within our first year residence halls. Now, when we think about our students who are with us in all of our communities, but today we're going to talk about our first year residence halls, we have what we call our residential experience. And we understand that our students on a normal year, they're with us for 8 months, starting in August and concluding in May. And so when we think about that time, we recognize our responsibility within the residence halls on how can we support the academic initiatives and the academic endeavors of our first year students. So how can we support them? And so we have what we call our residential experience. We also call it RESX, and that is a set of strategies intentionally designed to help promote 4 core components of student development to help them in their academic pursuits. So we have global responsibility, personal responsibility, community responsibility, and academic responsibility. And when we think about our students who are living with us within the residence halls, we think about, through their journey as above, we want our students to develop their commitment to learning and personal responsibility to be globally conscious members of their CU community and the greater world. We really think about how can we support our students, student development wise, to grow and support them as students as they're matriculating through CU. So what is the RESX vision? And before I even discuss the vision, I also just want to make a note that when we think about RESX and the development of RESX, it is developed and based on student development theory. We did our research to say what theories do we want to apply to create our residential experience on how we're going to support students and as they're developing when they're living with us. Our RESX, our residential experience, is going to measure what students gain by participating in our initiatives. Again, it's really thinking about how are we going to support them to their academic pursuits. And then, of course, it's an intentional approach to residential engagement opportunities and environments. So when we think about what is the vision of RESX, so at CU, our students receive an academic experience that connects and spans beyond the classroom. This experience exists whether a student lives in a traditional residence hall, apartment, or off campus, or within graduate housing. We in Residence Life, we're committed to providing students spaces as avenues for growth and development. As a result, students will explore oneself, gain new perspectives, recognize their impact on others, on CU, and the world around them. So you may be asking yourself, well, how do we do that? And I mentioned we have our 4 learning goals. So when we think about our initiatives, when we think about how we're supporting students to, supporting their academic endeavors, we think about 1, academic responsibility. So when we think about how we engage students in the residence halls, we're thinking about how we're going to help them build strong commitment to learning by applying their out-of-classroom experience to their academic pursuits. So this is where within the residence halls, we're helping students build relationships with faculty and staff members to increase opportunities for mentorship and academic support. So that really means partnering with our first year academic experience professors and staff to bring those opportunities also into the living experiences. We also want students to discover relevant academic resources and services available on campus. One thing that we house within Residence Life is our ASAP tutoring. So at Residence Life, we have a dedicated program where we support our students in providing study skills, resiliency, how to remote study, and we also have various webinars that are taking place this fall as well. But we also want our students to be connected to academic resources. When we think about community responsibility, this is where we want our students to foster relationships within their community and gain awareness of how their actions impact others. And so what does that mean, and how do we foster that, and how do we design our initiatives around that? So our initiatives under community responsibility we want our students to develop their interpersonal skills to build healthy relationships with others and examine how their actions will affect their residential community. When we think about global responsibility, this is where we want our students to explore how their values and actions as globally conscious citizens influence society. So here, this is where we want to support our sustainability initiatives, and we want our students to develop sustainable practices in their day-to-day lives. And then we also want our students to examine their own cultural identities in relation to others. And so here, this is where we're helping students, have different experiences to help them grow and be connected to the folks who are living with them, and recognizing that they're all in that one community, but that one community also supports the entire CU community. And then lastly, we have personal responsibility. And here, students will engage in self-discovery and evaluate the personal impact of their choices. So here, this is where we want students to explore their own personal values and beliefs. We also want our students to identify resources to aid in their personal health and wellness. So here we really think about leadership skills. How do we support students in developing those? And then also, how do we support students to be able to understand, to foster healthy wellness practices for themselves. And when we think about RESX, we know that our students are coming to us with many different issues, and we know what our first year students are going to experience, right? They may experience homesickness. They may experience, not knowing how to study well, or they may want to be able to how to connect or communicate with the professor. And so we know our students are coming to us with all of those things. And so instead of allowing those things when they occur for us to respond to them, we really think about RESX as being proactive. And so we have different strategies in place and initiatives in place to combat that on the front end. So instead of a student coming to us and saying, hey, I'm feeling homesick right now, we also know that around this time, really, the third week in September, going into the first few weeks in October, students may experience homesickness. So we have different things in place to make sure that we're putting information out there to our students to support them. So that way, once they begin to experience it, if they experience it, there's already resources available to them. And so think about RESX as being proactive to address student needs and student development needs, but also to support them as students as they matriculate through campus. And what is the role of the hall director, as I mentioned before? So the hall director is responsible for the overall management of a residence hall. HDs facilitate student development through individual student interactions, building community, and student leadership. The hall director supervises student staff of resident advisors. Again, these are dedicated live-in professionals within the residence halls. And then we think about, well, what is a resident advisor? Your student may say, hey, my RA is doing this, my RA is doing that. So RAs are student employees who live with us. They're assigned to a particular floor in our residence halls. And the RA is responsible for facilitating a positive community among residents, promoting a safe and comfortable living environment, and supports the implementation of our residential experience.
Thank you so much, DeAndre. I know we really appreciate the overview, and we were able to answer some of the questions in the Q&A. At this time, I do just want to remind you all to stay connected. We are here for you. So go ahead, take a picture of our phone number, email, and if your question did not get answered in the Q&A, please feel free to call us or email us. I promise we will be able to get back to you either later today or tomorrow. So keep the questions coming, and we're happy to answer those follow-up questions. DeAndre, did you have any other announcements before our other things you wanted to share before we go ahead and direct everyone to click the link for the residential area?
I don't have anything, but I do want to say I thank the parents who are and the families who are on the line, and I look forward to engaging you. My information was on one of the first slides. If you didn't get that, please connect with the folks in New Student Family Program for them to share my contact information with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DeAndre. We really appreciate your time. And yes, families, if you would like a copy of this presentation, just send us an email and we are happy to share that with you. Thank you so much for your time.